This is a door. You can't see through it. This is a window. You can see through it. And this is a 4B11T out of a 2014-ish Mitsubishi Lancer Ralliart or Evolution. And this engine, you can see right through. It's one of those double pane blocks. And this was a core return, which means when I sell an engine, if I charge a core charge, that person gets that money back when they get their old engine. And when we reached out to the customer where we sold the original 4B11T to, he said, "Are you sure you want this back? It's got a big hole in it." Yes. Yes, I want it back. This is the first chance I've ever had to get one of these cores ever. And I didn't have to hunt it down. It came to me. It's the best kind. And it's fully dressed. Well, most of the way. It's also very, very, very broken. The 4B11T is a 2-liter turbocharged Mitsubishi 4-cylinder. The engine we sold is out of a Lancer Ralliart, which is the lowest power output of the 4B11T, which makes 237 horsepower. But if you get a Lancer Evolution, you can make nearly 300 horsepower, and I think the engine is virtually the same. Now, you might be looking at this and thinking, have I seen this before? Have you torn one of these down before? But no, I haven't. This is the first Mitsubishi engine I've ever had on this stand, ever on the channel. It's the first Mitsubishi. But why does this look so familiar? Well, this is part of the Global Engine Alliance, which Chrysler, Hyundai, and Kia, and Mitsubishi all work together to develop this engine architecture, which is why it looks so similar. I'm not going to tell you all those engines are identical. They are definitely different, but there's some similar architecture between all of them, and some parts do swap between all of them. The good news is that Mitsubishi, Chrysler, and Hyundai and Kia are all well known for making the best 4-cylinder engines ever, especially in recent years. No, I guess that's not such good news, is it? It's a shame. It's no 4G63. So this is the good side of the engine. And I mean that. It is, I think, better than the other side. Now you might be saying, Eric, why would you say that? This hole's smaller. Well, this is the bed plate, and it is. Do you know how much force that takes to do that? And it gets worse because if you look down here, this is going to be fun. Clearly, the most important thing to discover at this point is whether this engine turns over or not. I know you are all wondering if this engine turns over. Me too. Oh, I feel compression. Why do they even return this? There's nothing wrong with this. It's just got some extra crankcase ventilation. Now I'm going to take a minute and remove the almost already fully disconnected engine harness. There's only a couple connectors still in it. Next, we need to pull the plugs. So first, the coils. Next, we'll pull the spark plugs. I've torn down a lot of engines in my day, a lot, and it's still my day. And I've never had an engine that had HKS spark plugs in it. But that tells me two things. Number one, the owner of the car this engine came from cared, because I'm not going to tell you these are the best plugs for it, but you don't just go to the store and buy these. You have to go out of your way to buy these. This isn't something that just sits on the shelf at your local auto parts store. And number two, that the person that owned this car likely left it completely stock and had no modification. No, wait. What I mean is this car was likely modified. And the plugs don't look that bad. They don't even look that old. I think they're still good. The next thing I'm going to remove is the turbo and manifold. This is not the turbo that was on the engine when it blew up. This is off of the engine that we sold. Likely the turbo that was on the car that this engine, the good engine, went into was better than this one. So he returned the core with this turbo, which was very nice. I did not expect him to do that. There's not really much to see as far as checking the turbo out. But the hole, wow, that's not good. I haven't had the best luck selling used turbochargers off of core engines, but this is not technically the turbo off of a core engine. This is off of a good engine. So I suppose I may try to sell it. It's in practically perfect condition. No shaft play, spins great. No reason to suspect that this turbo has any problems whatsoever. The manifold, however, like all of these engines, is cracked along the painted mark. We painted that on there so that the next guy would see it. The next thing I'd like to remove is the dipstick. It's okay, guys. It's not an LS. Should come right out. We're going to play this game. I just said it's going to be not bad. See, it wasn't too bad. Next, I'm going to remove the intake manifold brace. And one more here. Next, I'm going to start unbolting the intake from the head. Next, I'm going to crack the bolts loose that hold the intake to the head. Before I get this all the way zipped off, I've got some hoses to remove. Can't let these hoses get in the way. Well, here's the charging harness. It's wrapped up pretty good in this. Gotta love these spring clamps. Now, these should come right out. Let's see, is that it? That's it. Yeah, it's still in good shape. What has happened here? How is this harness? Oh, I see. This is a much better view at the level of damage this engine has. It cracked the bed plate completely through. It's completely broken. Large sections of block missing. You can see the side of a main cap. This must have been horrendously loud. Well, let's look at these intake ports. That one's wet. Looks like oil. That looks nice. That one looks pretty good too. These all look good. The exhaust is a lot harder to see. I don't really see anything totally obvious. Next, we're going to remove the valve cover. Blue. That's rather clean in there. Well, this looks exceptionally nice in here. But in my experience, most enthusiast-based cars don't get to see the neglect, just abuse. They don't see the lack of maintenance. They just see too much boost. We don't know if that's what happened here. The next thing I'm going to do is remove this bracket. Is that it? I think that's all that's supposed to hold that in. It sure feels like there's something else. Oh, there's another bolt. Well, it's much easier when all the bolts are out. Next, we're going to get this other bracket off. Next, the motor mount bracket. Now, if you didn't believe me that these engines were similar, this is a Theta 2 2.4 liter out of a 12 or 13 Sonata. Here is the bracket I just pulled off. And it literally lines up perfectly. I could bolt it to this engine. Believe me now? Next, the water pump. I think I decided I'm just going to pull this with the housing as well. Be like that then. No? No. Should I take these out too? Oh, we're leaking. Something is keeping this on. Are there some bolts in the front? I don't know. We're just going to keep zipping bolts out. Eventually parts are going to fall off. Well, unfortunately, I can't really check the condition of the pump like this. Oh, yes, I can. This better do it. Ew. It's literally coming apart. It does not spin very well. And it's very rusty. It's literally chipping away. There's nothing I did hitting this. That housing's still good. This is bad. Next, I'm going to remove the crank pulley, which is literally coming apart. And in my experience, two things causes this. Number one, oil leaks, degrades the rubber between both parts of the crank pulley. Number two, lots of high RPM, and if they're not balanced 100%, that vibration can tear them apart. Next, I'll start tickling the timing cover. We'll get all the bolts out and get it peeled off. It appears that some of the oil pan bolts are out, so I wouldn't be surprised if that pan has been off. I think I got them all. Well, it's very much acting like there's still a bolt in it. Now it's off. Look how clean that is. It's dirtier on the outside than the inside. It's usually the other way around. Well, the timing system is beautiful. And look how clean this, I can appreciate how clean the inside of this engine is. All of the plastic appears to be intact. I don't see anything broken, chipped. The tensioner's not overextended. This looks great. Now we can start peeling stuff off. We're going to start with the tensioner. I'm sure there's not a lot of tension there. Nah, we're good. Guide looks really nice. There's no wear at all. I'm looking for a date on here. 17? Likely original, so this must be a few years newer. Did they make them that new? Still, it looks great. And it's the same thing on this, just a little bit of wear where the chain rode. Yeah, 17. Nice. Now this should just come right off. Oh, that's a beauty. Yes. Next, we're going to cram the cam caps off. Well, it's not as good as I had hoped. A lot of these journals have a pretty deep groove in them. And it doesn't look like that's how they came, because not all of them have that groove, and you can catch it with your fingernails pretty pronounced. There's a really good look at that groove. I just don't think that's how they are supposed to be. And the journals kind of echo that as well. They're not terrible, but I don't know if that renders this head junk or if it is still usable. The cams definitely have some wear. They may polish out. They're not as bad as some of the oil-starved engines we've seen over the year or two. But they certainly aren't ready to go back into an engine. Now it's pretty deep. Maybe some debris got caught in there. First, I need to get this bearing out. Now it's time to crack the head bolts loose. The bolts on this side of the head are a lot looser so far. Oh, we're leaking. I don't have a pan under it. All right, now it's time for the great reveal. Oh, that's not good. I bet you can already kind of see it. We got some problems. Head gasket looks good-ish. That's bad. I'm not supposed to be able to do that. Yeah. You're just gonna... All right, in all seriousness. Oh, I dropped a ring. She'll never say yes now. Now we need to test the rods, of course. That doesn't feel right to me. But I don't know. We'll find out when we get this further apart. So here's the remnants of cylinder 3's piston. And if it wasn't for the rings, this would be in multiple more pieces. The one thing I will say is I don't see a ton of marks from hitting the cylinder head. So I'll be interested to see what the head looks like. You never really want to start at the back, but this is cylinder 4. And there's the cylinder that let go. And there's a few marks, especially on that ledge right there. And the valve has some marks. But it's in better shape than I expected. It does look like there's lots of small damage, like pock marks here. So I'm not sure if that makes this head worth fixing or not, or maybe it's too much damage for the value of the head. That's something that we'll have to determine later. Cylinder 1, not good. I mean, it's better than perhaps cylinder 3. Cylinder 2, not good. Also not good. That looks like it got a little hot. Yep. That one's bad. Cylinder 4, pretty clean. Few marks from damage. Probably when this thing blew up, it threw debris across all of the cylinders through the intake. And look at all the different marks on the surface of that piston. Normally I'd flip this engine over to pull the oil pan, but I have a feeling that we have a little bit of a gift basket waiting for us. So now let's pull the party pan, see what we've got. We'll leave that one in there for now. Oh, sounds like a cash register. Oh yeah, still got some oil in there. Oh, smorgasbord of engine parts. Let's see what we've got here. Well, that looks like block. That's block. That is not a rod cap bolt, but that is a bolt of something. It's totally sheared off. There's a ring. Circlip for a wrist pin. This looks like piston right there. There's a lot of debris in here. There's bigger stuff down here, and the oil is still in the pan. Hard to identify what that. Ooh, we got something big. Aha! A ready to install wrist pin. Let's get this all cleaned off. It's a couple dings in it. It'll buff. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. This is a good value. Hard to identify what all this is. It really is. I seem to be missing some pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the rest of this out. I'll give it a bath. And we'll see what we've got here. So let's start out with the pan. The pan has several dents right here from flailing engine particles. There's lots of dents on the bottom of this pan. Nothing, well, there might be one spot where the pan is breached, but I don't think it got through there. And then we have, of course, our wrist pin. That thing always survives. And I've kind of organized the chunks by big to small. I've got one bolt, but I don't see any chunks of rod here. This is all aluminum. I would say this is mostly piston and block. Got a few rings, one circlip. That is probably from the bed plate. The larger pieces are. But I don't see a single chunk of rod in here. And it's not attached to that anymore. So where is it? Let's turn this thing over and see if we can find it. Oh, we're leaking. Let me get a pan. It's not even that much coolant. Okay, it's a fair amount of coolant. Oh, wow. That is so much worse on the bottom than I thought it would be. Oh, we're dropping engine parts. Don't worry, I got them. I'm not sure how well this shows on camera, but this is much worse from this angle. It looked like that rod and piston tried to break the entire bed plate off the block. You can see there's a gap down there, and then there's a hole where that broken bolt that we found inside the pan was. We can find sheared off threads that stretched that bolt apart. This is a good amount of carnage. It's a pretty robustly built block too, so this took a lot of force. Oil pump, I don't really even think that's even worth mentioning. Just one little chunk of metal in there. That was probably as this engine was winding down. Next, we're going to start with the oil pump. I don't know if this is left-hand or right-hand thread, so we're just going to try stuff. And it worked out. Oh, we got tensioners fighting me. Beautiful. All right, new battery. And there's the oil pump. Make sure there's no oil in it. I think we're good. Now we're going to blast this oil pump apart, see if we can find any damage. And it all came apart really nice. Let's get this cleaned up so we can inspect. So the shaft actually doesn't look too bad. The rotor's got a few dings in it, a few scratches, but nothing major. There's more damage from rubbing on the housing. The larger outside rotor, similar story. The outside of it is where most of the damage is. And it's not, I'm saying damage, this would still make perfectly good oil pressure. It's just not like a brand new one. It's definitely had some debris run through it, but probably at the very end of its life. Earlier I misspoke and I called this a bed plate. It's just an upper oil pan. The main cap bolts do not go through it. We'll try to get this cut up in a few minutes. I'm going to let it drain first. Next we'll remove the crank sensor. It blocks a bolt for the upper oil pan. I have this distinct feeling that this may come off in two pieces. That bolt is bent. And there's supposed to be a bolt. It's gone. Wow. I'll show you guys that in a minute. That's impressive. What else holds this? Is that it? Nothing from the top? I think that's it. I could be wrong. Let's get old Blue on the job. Oh, we got to pull the remain seal plate. Oh man, look at that flex. It's 2 pieces for sure. Yep, I saw that one coming. That's a first for this channel. We haven't had an engine blow up to rip the pan in half. I take that back. I guess the Rolls-Royce engine or the Bentley engine was like that. What is keeping this in here? Oh, we got it. Well, I am impressed. The amount of damage, the amount of force it takes to do this kind of damage, wow. That's a lot, guys. I mean, this must have sounded like the christening of 50 champagne bottles at one time. It's cracked all the way through here. And it's almost in multiple pieces, not just 2. And the block is cut all the way up to the bore. Crankshaft, man, oh man. This was a loud one. All of this from one cylinder too, it's insane. At this point, I'm going to crack the rod caps loose, pull the rods and pistons out, what's left, so that we can focus on the mains and get the crankshaft out. Nope. Definitely not. That'll just come out with the crank. See if these will just slide out. I have my doubts. Oh yes. The crank needs to turn. I know I'm damaging the crank. It's fine, guys. Look at the rest of it. Nope, more. Now it's time to unbolt the main caps. Now we should be able to get the crankshaft out of this. This should come right up. Looks like I might need Blue for this. Blue? I think Blue thought he was done already. We are going to try just a little bit to get the rod remnants, the big end of the rod, off the crank. I don't have a lot of hope that this is going to work. Let's see if we can't maybe get it stuck in a position here. This is absolutely maybe going to work. I'm just going to hit it with the impact. Oh no, it turned like 3 turns and then stopped turning. And this is a fresh battery. I want to really be delicate with this because I don't want to blow it apart so we can't make sense of what happened here. You're coming off and you're going to like it. I should have rethought that. I also don't know where anything went. Oh, there's part. Oh, I see it. So it's not good. We have one more. Still have a good shot at this. I don't think this is going to work. This is the one that's even more mutilated than the last. It's going to work. We just need a little impact. That's what we need. That worked. Now, will it separate? Can I get the bolt out of my socket? a whole load of questions. Oh yeah, we'll get it. Hey, there we are. Ooh. Well, the first thing I wanted to start off with is one of the bolts that came out of the upper pan. As you can see, it's bent. That was it takes a lot of force to do this. Next, we'll go to the rod bearings. They're not great. The uppers are really worn. And that usually happens, in my experience, from lots of pressure, lots of force. And that's the cylinder that let go. And there's cylinder number 4. So lots of boost, lots of cylinder pressure, lots of high RPM, lots of force does that. Also, running it low on oil, at times this thing looked like a leaker to me. So let's go to the rods and pistons. Cylinder 1 looks pretty decent. Piston looks good, but there's some pock marks, some debris damage, probably from this final incident. We get to cylinder number 2, and it's bad. It's real bad. Where's the top compression ring? No, really, where did it go? How does it leave? It is gone. It didn't fall into the pan when I was pulling these out. It was just not present. To delete an entire ring is, I mean, the rings are still there on that piston, and they're missing off of, well, at least the top one is missing off of this cylinder. It takes a lot. And the way it looks is, it looks like it was running like that for a while. Otherwise, this would be a clean break. So I bet this was a hurt engine in the first place. And then the remnants of the rod, this is what did all the damage. The reason that bolt broke is because of the damage to the side of this rod cap. It locked the threads up. And of course, we've seen this before. I mean, earlier in this video. Cylinder 4, a little bit of damage to the bottom of the piston from flying shrapnel. Top of the piston has a few marks in it. Nothing terrible. Still wouldn't reuse it. The bottom main bearing shells are pretty worn as well. Again, that's from force, RPM, lots of power. I'm sure this car was completely stock, never driven hard. I was being sarcastic. The journals on the crank aren't really too bad. They would probably clean up, but it's kind of a moot point because look at how much damage there is to that. This must have blown up at like 5,000 or 6,000 RPM under boost. I mean, that's they can't drill it that shape. That's after it was smashed. And I think the situation here is we are missing the small end of the rod, and I think that's still roaming the streets in the Pacific Northwest, which is where this engine came from, is it's gone. Maybe they found it on the splash shield. I mean, there's just damage throughout. This was quite the event. And we're not done because we've got damage to the main cap. In fact, this main cap bolt, remember I made a comment it was bent? That's crazy. The big bolt's good. This one's not. Also some damage here. That main cap looks okay. The rest of the main caps look all right to me. The filter has a few chunks, a few slivers of metal, but I don't think this is an oiling related failure, so this isn't like laden with bearing material. There's just a few glimmers, probably from its final moments. The very first car I started to modify was my 1988 Mazda MX-6 GT. It was a factory turbo car, had a bigger turbo on it, big exhaust, front mount intercooler, a bunch of supporting mods, and a stock engine from the junkyard. That's just how it was. I'd blowed engines up at least once every year or two. I think I went through 3 or 4 engines before I finally got one dialed in enough to where I didn't have to worry about that. I melted pistons, cracked ringlands, threw the dipstick out of it and almost caught the car on fire, broke a lot of transmissions. I learned a lot through trial and mainly error, lots of error. And I think that's how a lot of us learn, is through error. But back then, an engine for an 88 MX-6 was $500, $600 maybe. This was a $3,300 engine, and inflation is not that different from back in the early 2000s. So my point is when you start to modify your vehicles, it comes at a cost, and that cost is usually the risk of this type of failure. Now, I'm not going to tell you that if you put a cold air intake on your car or an exhaust on your car, it's immediately going to blow up, because that's not the case. Most of the vehicles I drive on a daily basis are modified in one way or another. But that margin of error that the manufacturer leaves you with gets diminished. And when they do let go, it can be very catastrophic. This engine still has a lot of good parts on it, though. The head, I think, is serviceable. I think it will clean up. It's going to take some work. I don't know if it's worth the work. I still have to check into that. And then it has an intake manifold and, okay, maybe it doesn't have a lot of good parts on it. But it was worth the video to get this engine back here, because this is a hard engine to find, and it was blown up catastrophically. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you'd like to buy any parts out of this engine or anything else I've torn down, or off of this 2001 Eurovan. Now, I understand I posted this in my community tab, and some of you were questioning why we're parting this out. Well, this thing runs and drives, but it was converted to a handicap accessible van, and I'm not knocking that whatsoever, but to put the lift and all those things into a vehicle really compromises the structural integrity of these vehicles once you remove that. And most people don't need it to be handicapped accessible. Plus, this thing is tired. It's got 150,000 miles on it. The headliner's fallen. I could go on about its problems, but it makes more sense to part this thing out so that other ones can stay on the road. So if you'd like to buy parts out of this or anything else I've torn down, you can go to Importapart.com and peruse our inventory. If you don't see what you're looking for, you can fill out our part request form, which sends us an email of exactly what it is you're looking for. As always, I love all the comments, all the feedback, and even the criticism. I love it all, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Good night, Eric.
Good night, hon.
Eric, what is this?
It's a what?
I thought we said no car parts in bed.